Thank you, Tammy. Thanks for all those tips that everybody was saying. I'm writing them down. Even though I've had narcolepsy for so many years, I am always trying to learn and trying to feel better. So that person back in the corner back there, maybe you could tell us those names again. I know Gina Dennis, you said, and the two other ones. That would be great. So I've been playing professional golf for 25 years on the LPGA tour, and 22 years ago I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, with cataplexy. And this is what I am here to tell you, is that you can live your dreams and have narcolepsy. You can have narcolepsy and live your dreams. So I had a normal childhood, very active childhood. I was raised by a tough German mom, and sleep was not a priority in our house because she always said you can't sleep your life away, so we never took naps. But anyway, so I was very active, played basketball, played baseball, lots of sports. Golf was another sport that I played. When I was 13, I became a caddy at the country club down the street to earn money because I thought making money was important in my life. So I started caddying and getting more involved in the golf game. And eventually I got a job at a golf course, and my manager there noticed that I was actually a pretty good golfer, and he said, you know, you should play golf in college, maybe you can get a scholarship. And so I did. I played golf in college. He helped me get a scholarship to college, and I went to Northern Illinois University on a golf scholarship. During my college years was when I started experiencing symptoms of narcolepsy. I didn't know it at the time. I remember my freshman year having sleep paralysis and hypnagogic hallucinations. I didn't know that that's what they were, but I remember always like seeing my roommate in the room and she wasn't there. I remember always having vivid dreams and telling my friends all the stories of my dreams. And the sleep paralysis, I was always feeling like I was floating. I also fell asleep in all of my classes. When I was studying, my grades were not that great. I studied more and more, and I kept falling asleep. But when I looked around, everybody was asleep, so it seemed completely normal to me. And it seemed completely normal, and I never took a nap. All my roommates were taking naps, but I was not. So I ended up graduating college. I played great in college. I played golf for 4 years, won 8 tournaments. Didn't have a job when I graduated, so I thought, well, I'll just try this pro thing for a year or two and see what happens. It really wasn't a dream of mine until I started playing and realized, wow, this is really fun. This is really cool. I love this. So I turned pro and was driving around the country, falling asleep. I remember being in Ohio, and I was leading a golf tournament, and I was driving home from that tournament, driving to my hotel or my housing, wherever I was staying, and I was falling asleep. I stopped at the gas station, and there was like 4 police cars that surrounded me in the gas station. This is in the middle of the day at 2 o'clock. And so they thought I was drinking. They gave me a sobriety test, asked me to say the alphabet backward on one leg, which I couldn't do. Can you say the alphabet backward? I can't. Anyway, so they realized I was not drunk, and they let me go. I told them I was playing in the tournament and blah, 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 so they let me go. But this became very common, this falling asleep. I did fall asleep in college driving a little bit, but it wasn't that much. It was only a little bit. I thought it was the exhaust in my car, so I just rolled down the windows. Didn't help. So anyway, so I played professional golf and got on tour in 1994, made it on the LPGA on my first try. I'm still driving around the country, still falling asleep. I was stopped by the police at red, I would fall asleep at a red light and get stopped, or I'd be weaving, I would get stopped. In between tournaments, I would get stopped. I was constantly being stopped by the police officers. I one time was almost in a head-on collision, and there was a woman driving. It was a 2-lane road, and she had a baby in the car, and I fell asleep, and she couldn't move over anymore because there was a bridge, and our mirrors hit. And thank God that was the only thing that hit. But I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And then I went back over there and saw she was okay and the baby was okay, and we were both thankful to be alive because it could have been a disaster. We never reported it to the police or anything, but I mean, I was really realizing this is a huge problem. So I did visit many doctors. Nobody seemed to find anything wrong with me. I was very happy. I did have a little bit of cataplexy during my rookie year, because I remember I was dating a guy who made me weak in the knees, or so I thought. He made me weak in the knees. I totally thought I was in love. Every time I was with him, he would make me kind of laugh, and I would, get weak and have to sit down. I would drop my Diet Coke. I totally thought I was in love, but now I know it's cataplexy. So I continue to travel the country and play. I'm not falling asleep on the golf course, but I'm falling asleep everywhere else. On my trips, my friends would always make fun of me because I was always sleeping. But I tried not to, just didn't help. It didn't work. So eventually, I did see doctors. Like I said before, I became a vegan. Thought that might help me. That made my symptoms worse. I was a vegan for 1.5 years. I saw a naturopath doctor. He put me on vitamins, B12, spirulina, coenzyme Q10, and I did start to go to some hormone doctor to check my hormones. Something wasn't quite right, but they never could find anything. Anyway, I eventually developed this severe cataplexy. And when I was in Minnesota, playing in an LPGA event in a Pro-Am, I noticed that every time I would hit my shot, I couldn't walk and I couldn't wave. My group would clap and I couldn't walk, and I would start to see double, and I thought there's something weird going on with my muscles. I'm losing my muscle tone. And then the next week I went to Rochester, New York for another tournament, and I started having full cataplexy that week. And so I remember walking across the street to the driving range, and the police officer said something that made me upset, and I immediately collapsed to the ground. But I could still hear, and so I got up and I went over to the trailer where there was an on-site medical doctor, and he was just like a GP, but he listened to me. He listened to me what I was saying. I said, I'm starting to feel really weak when I hit the golf ball. I'm seeing double, and I can't hold the golf club, and I just fell completely across the street. The guy made me mad, and I just fell right over. And he said, oh, well, maybe you're coming down with something, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I'm never gonna know, so I just left. The next day he called me, the doctor, so it really bothered him, my symptoms. And he asked me, are you, sleepy at all? Do you fall asleep a lot? I'm like, yeah, I fall asleep everywhere. Movies, TV, driving, I'm always falling asleep. He's like, well, and then he started reading the definition of narcolepsy, and he read it out of the book, and the light bulb went off in my brain. I was like, oh my gosh, that is what I have. I've had all those symptoms for years, and I never even knew. So he told me to go and get a sleep test. And so I went to Chicago, where I'm from, and they saw me right away and did the sleep test and the MSLT, and told me basically that I have a textbook case of narcolepsy, and we can help you, right? And I was like, great, this is awesome. I'm so excited. I have a name for what I have. I don't have Lou Gehrig's disease. I'm gonna still be able to play golf for a living. This is like the best day of my life. I left the office, super excited. He gave me a medication for the cataplexy because to me that was the most, it was the most debilitating because I couldn't play golf. That's all I wanted to do was play golf. And so he gave me a medicine for the cataplexy, and that worked, like right away. 80% of my cataplexy was gone. I walked out of that office. I was super happy to have a name for the problem. I had a cataplexy attack in the stairway on the way down. I remember that. And but it was a good day. I wasn't dying, right? So I could still play golf. Little did I know that this whole narcolepsy thing was going to consume my life for the next few years. But so basically, eat, sleep, golf. I had to learn how to set priorities. And my priorities were sleeping and golf. And so that's what I did. I golfed. I was super happy that I could still continue to live my dreams, right? Playing golf at the highest level in the world on the LPGA tour. I just had to take naps a lot, whenever I could. I had to hire somebody to drive my car around for me, but I was doing what I loved, so it was awesome. Eventually, I started gaining a ton of weight, and as you can see here, I'm a lot, probably gained a little pounds. Anyway, so I gained a bunch of weight. I weighed up 228 pounds at one time. I was wearing size 18, that was too small for me. And so 3 years go by and I'm taking the one medication for my cataplexy. I've tried many other medications to help me stay awake. The amphetamines, they made me, go up and down my personality. I was grouchy. I would crash, I'd be awake, I would crash. I didn't like any of that. So I basically just monitored my narcolepsy with taking naps and then this medicine for my cataplexy. And then I had to remain completely, my emotions had to stay under control at all times so that I wouldn't have cataplexy. So, it was okay. I thought it was great because I thought it helped my golf game. So in golf, you have to visualize your shots. And if you watch the guys on TV or the girls on TV, the more calm you are, the better you play. So I thought, wow, this cataplexy is helping my golf game. And I thought it did. But eventually, I lost my tour card. I became depressed. I gained a bunch of weight, like I said. I remember being on the airplane and the thing wasn't fitting, the seatbelt wasn't fitting me around. It did, but barely. And I was like, man, I gotta do something about this. This is not good. So what did I do? I got a dog. Yes, he was great for me emotionally. Gave me something else to think about. Gave me something else to care about. A reason to get up in the morning. Got me out of bed, definitely, because he had to pee and eat and drink water. So what you can do when you put your mind to it. He could drag that golf club across the living room floor at like 5 pounds, and so that's what I did. I persevered, and I was determined to get back on tour and continue to play. So I went on a diet. I started exercising. I remember the gym that I exercised at every single day. I would fall asleep while I was exercising on the treadmill, on the bike. Often would walk into the men's room instead of the ladies' room, just completely in blur. But I was exercising, so it was good. I was on my way. Eventually, I ended up in Houston, Texas for a golf tournament. So when you play golf for a living, to save expenses, you'll stay with families a lot. So I've met a lot of wonderful people across the world. And this particular week, I was staying with a family that was 45 minutes away from the golf course. And I was driving a rental car, and I didn't have anybody with me. So I knew that was way too far for me. So I called up the family and I said, listen, I won't be able to stay with you. Your house is too far. I have to stay closer to the golf course. And the guy said, Dr. Lee was his name. He said, what do you mean you stay awake when you're driving. That doesn't make sense. I said, well, I have this narcolepsy thing. He's like, so? And I said, well, I can't stay awake. And he's like, well, my best friend's a sleep doctor, and if he can't help you, nobody can. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, I've already been to all these doctors, and nobody's been able to help me. And anyway, so he convinced me to stay at his house, and he took me to see Dr. Todd Swick in Houston. And that was a great day for me. I went there with no expectations, and I left there with a whole lot of information. Dr. Swick changed my medication. My cataplexy medication was making me more sleepy. And so he put me on something else that wasn't going to make me sleepy and still worked for my cataplexy. He introduced me to modafinil. No other doctor had given me that yet. Now, this was new on the market, so I just hadn't gotten to that point, apparently. But anyway, so he introduced me to modafinil, and then he also told me about something called the Narcolepsy Network, which is a support group for people with narcolepsy. So I've had narcolepsy now. I was diagnosed for 4 years, and nobody had told me about it. So that year, I went to a narcolepsy conference in St. Louis, Missouri, and that was really one of the most amazing weeks of my life because, first of all, I met other people with narcolepsy. That's why you all are here. That you guys are already ahead of the game. I met people with narcolepsy. I realized I wasn't alone. I remember sitting at the tables. They actually was a room like this and tables just like this, round tables, and I was sitting there talking to my mom, or I was sitting next to my mom, listening to the speakers talk, and I couldn't stay awake at all. But I always kept my head up and tried so hard to stay awake. I don't know if my eyes are open or not, but they were like, however they are. And I looked over to my mom and I'm like, Mom, can you tell I'm falling asleep? And she said, Nicole, look around. Everybody's asleep. So I looked around and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're all, I mean, I was so focused on keeping myself awake, I never even realized the whole room was asleep. So, you know, they were laying on the tables, they got pillows out. That made me feel really good, you know. I was like, cool. So, and then I learned about the memory problems. I learned that my memory was part of narcolepsy. I had no idea. So now I have an excuse. But it was really great. And then I saw people who were really successful. I learned from other people just how we were all sharing some things that help us, essential oils and the ketogenic diet. So back in 2000, we didn't have that much knowledge, but I was learning from people just like you. And so I am forever grateful for, for that group that I could learn from because it really helped me. So I left the Narcolepsy Network Conference. Let's see if I can read that. We cannot, with new energy and a new thought process, we cannot control everything that happens to us, but what we can control is how we react to things. I would like to read the rest of it, but I can't really read it. But if you get my gist, it's basically saying that, I'm gonna, try to be the best person I can be and only control the things I can control and not the things that happen to me. So narcolepsy is what it is, but I'm just gonna try to feel the best that I can. So I left that conference and, I learned new healthy eating habits from the conference. Before this conference, I would eat pancakes for breakfast and wonder why I was falling asleep. I had no idea that, I should pay attention to what I'm eating because what I'm eating is actually gonna make me more sleepy. So it took me some time to figure it out, but for me, protein helps me stay awake and carbohydrates put me to sleep. Sugar puts me to sleep. The more protein I eat, the better I feel, and so I became very aware of my body and what was going to help me stay awake. Water. I never ever drank any water. I drank Diet Coke, right? Diet Coke. Maybe if it was super hot out, I drank some water. Well, at this conference, I learned about water. So from that day forward, I started drinking a ton of water. And would you believe that that really helps me a ton? I can feel if I get a little bit dehydrated, my cataplexy gets worse. I can feel it immediately, so I'm constantly chugging water. I don't really drink much else but water.
That's a quick question on that.
Yes.
Specifically, you said you eat a lot of protein, so like, what's like a typical, day for you in terms of what you eat? Because obviously your diet's important, but and I have a terrible diet, but you always hear about people what not to eat, but it's hard to actually know, like,
what to eat. Well, I feel like everybody's a little bit different, but it seems to be that protein does help people with narcolepsy stay awake. I don't know why, but so in the morning I'll eat eggs, Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt. That's pretty much about it. I eat a lot of eggs. Bacon, I'm okay with bacon or any sort of meat. Right now I have a job and I eat those little things at Starbucks. They're like those egg things, egg and pepper, whatever. They seem to be fine, but water is super important. And then at lunch, I don't eat lunch. I just eat a little bit throughout the day. Like almonds, beef jerky, Kind bars. They seem to have an okay ratio of stuff for me. Other people might only eat protein bars. I'm not real sure, but that's the kind of things I eat. Sometimes I just eat hard-boiled eggs throughout the day. I eat a lot of eggs. And then at night, I eat everything under the sun and cookies and ice cream, and it's terrible. But I don't have to stay awake anymore, so you might as well just enjoy life, right? But I need to get better at that. So, but everybody's different, and I hear a lot about this ketogenic diet, and so that's my next thing that I need to conquer. I've been saying this for 3 months, but where's my ketogenic people? Lindsay, Claire. I've met a lot of people in the last few months that have their kids on this ketogenic diet, and it's like game changer for them. So, when I see an 8-year-old that follows this ketogenic diet and he's doing great with it, I should be doing that too. So I'm gonna work on that. Anyway, so I started exercising, doing yoga. Yoga's been great. I haven't done it a lot lately because I have a new job. Just really understanding myself, not making important decisions late at night. When I need a nap. Don't continue to do something over and over again. I mean, I'll be trying to make a reservation on the computer and I'm falling asleep. Just go sleep or go do something else and then come back to it in the morning. I can do it in 2 seconds. Something that might have taken me an hour the day before, I could do it in 2 minutes the next morning because I'm awake and alert and sharp. So I forget where I was with my whole story, but I think I'm at Narcolepsy Network, I'm on Better Medicine, I'm on my way. I spent the next bunch of years playing on tour, doing great, still having to control my emotions on the golf course. I still have some cataplexy, but I'm pretty good. Can't play other sports. I couldn't play tennis or basketball or ping pong or swim in water. Forget it, no water. That's a bad idea. Because I was so worried about the cataplexy. So I continued to play, I'm doing really good. I'll let you look at these pictures. I was supposed to be talking then when I was playing these pictures, but that's supposed to be me controlling my emotions. So anyway, finally came along the Xyrem. And it took me a few years to try it. I was super scared. All I heard about from the other people and the conference and what was in the media, date rape drug, it's such a, toxic, difficult drug or whatever. So it took me a few years. And then I finally saw some people doing it, taking it, and having success. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try it. So I tried it. Unfortunately, my doctor was not very experienced with prescribing Xyrem, and I didn't have a very successful bout at it. I gave it a shot for like 3 or 4 months. My cataplexy was super, super severe, worse than it had ever been in my whole life, and I just bagged it. I called up the doctor that I saw in Houston, and I said, hey, Dr. Swick, you know, I've been trying the Xyrem thing, but my cataplexy is just, it's terrible. And he said, you know, well, you should be taking your Effexor. So I took my Effexor, and 30 minutes later, my cataplexy was gone. It was amazing. So anyway, that bad experience made me not want to be on Xyrem, so I quit it. But it bothered me because I was feeling better. Once I started taking the Effexor, I could feel that I was a lot better. And after about another year or two, and going to some more conferences and listening to other people have success, and then Molly Einen, who was very involved with the Narcolepsy Network, she has narcolepsy as well. She said, I can't believe that Xyrem didn't work for you. You're like the perfect candidate. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe I should give it another try. So this time I tried it with a doctor who had experience, somebody that knew what they were doing and cared about me. And I called them up and I asked them a bunch of questions. I'm like, how many patients do you have on it? Do you think it'll work for me? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, absolutely. And so he prescribed it for me, and I tried it again, and I have never felt better. So I can play, and I'm not saying that this drug is for you. This worked for me. What I am saying is that you need to find a good doctor, one that has experience, one that listens to you, one that wants to help you, one that knows what they're doing, that has a few patients with narcolepsy. Because right now we have so many medications that are upcoming, that are on the market now, and that are going to be on the market. I mean, right now is a really good day and age to have narcolepsy because the future is very bright. And I mean, I'm lucky to be experienced, to have had a better life, you know, because I found a good medicine. But I'm also going to be willing to try something else because I can still feel better. Just like I'm willing to try that ketogenic diet, and I might be willing to try another medication as well as soon as they come out. So always be open to trying to feel better. That is one thing. I met a lot of people at the Narcolepsy Network Conference that weren't willing to try stuff. They've been taking their amphetamine for 30 years and didn't want to try anything. They were happy with how they felt, but that's not how I feel. I always want to feel better. And that might be working for them, but I don't know, I just always be willing to be open for suggestions. So now, I had a lot of positive things. I'm on good medication, I've got a better attitude, I've learned how to take naps, I'm drinking water, I'm eating better. So I continued to play golf for a long time, very long time. I had a very long career of 25 years. It's pretty cool. So these are, we did a golf outing a few years ago, hoping to have another golf outing in the future, but I'm always wanting to try to give back. I just know how much other people have helped me with my narcolepsy, and so I always, you know, want to help y'all as well so that you can live a fulfilled life. I have a campaign called Swinging for Sleep. When I was playing every week, I would raise money for every birdie that I made in a tournament round. I am going to play in like 5 tournaments this year, so when I make birdies, I would love if you guys could make a donation. And you can also follow on the internet. Hopefully I'll be making lots of birdies or eagles. And you can do that at Wake Up Narcolepsy's website or my website, NicoleJeray.com. And the money goes to Wake Up Narcolepsy. There's my mom, who is my big supporter. When I was a kid, she told me not to take naps, and that was an adult. Every day she's telling me to sleep. Go to sleep. Make sure you take a nap. Take a nap. My mom is she's really the probably only one that really understands my narcolepsy. The only other person would be my ex-boyfriend. We were together for 14 years, but we're not together anymore, but he did understand it. So there are people out there that will understand it, and you can have relationships, and and my friends, a few of my friends, but my mom gets it the most. She's the best. Do you ever wish you didn't have narcolepsy? People ask me this all the time. And I can honestly say that I can't imagine my life without it. It's a part of who I am. It's shaped me. It's made me the person that I am today. I'm really proud of that. And it helped me have a career for 25 years, because I probably wouldn't have played so long had I not had this, trying to figure out how to, conquer the world. So. And there's only about a handful of LPGA players that have played for as long as I have, so it's pretty cool. I like it. So in the end, you've got to persevere, dig deep, keep a good attitude, and drink plenty of water. Pace yourself and set priorities. You can have narcolepsy and live your dreams.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Does anyone have any questions?
Anybody have questions?
So I noticed a lot of the younger people are very comfortable talking about their narcolepsy and things like that. I've kind of kept it a secret from clients and people that I'm in business with, because I don't want them to think less of me in terms of like, oh, I'm going to work on your project, but I'm going to go take a nap first, kind of thing. Did you ever feel that kind of embarrassment, and how did you handle that? And did coming out, so to speak, in terms of your narcolepsy, does that help you, or how?
Yeah, so I've always been quite open with my narcolepsy. I don't know why. I think because my cataplexy was so bad, it was like I wore it on my sleeve. I've always talked about it. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that in one ear and out the other about the narcolepsy, and I just don't talk about it. It's not like I'm forcing it on people. If they are asking me questions, I answer them. I don't want to hide it. It's part of who I am, and so if they're gonna like me, they're gonna like me regardless. And you also learn who your friends are very quickly. And for someone to not understand you as a person and your narcolepsy, then you don't want them in your life anyway. It's almost like a great way to weed out the bad people in the world, because only the good people are the ones that you want anyway. So it's like it's easier for us to weed them out. It is, people are starting to talk about it more, because you're right, back in the day, 20 years ago, everyone was hiding it. I've always talked about it. I feel more comfortable that way. I do hide my naps though. I don't say I'm going to take a nap. I go and take a nap, and then after I'm done, I might say, yeah, I took a nap. But I never say, oh, I'm gonna go take a nap now. I just hide and do. It's terrible, but that's just how I am. So, yes.
What was the medicine that you went on for your cataplexy? Excuse me. What was the medicine that you went on for your cataplexies that caused you to gain weight and you got really tired?
Yeah, so that was clomimipirine. They used to prescribe, also called anafranil. They used to prescribe it for, I think it's a drug for obsessive compulsive disorder, I want to say. But I was on that, and it worked great for the cataplexy. I gained a lot of weight. I don't know if it was because of the medication, or when you get sleepy, you want to eat, and so you eat and eat and eat, and then you get sleepy again, and then you wake up, and then you want to eat again. Even to this day, when I take a nap and I wake up, I'm like, right away, I want to eat, eat, eat. It's horrible. I don't know, maybe the doctors can explain that, but I've talked to a lot of people with narcolepsy who feel the same. I think you know, the ones that wake up in the middle of the night and eat. I don't have that problem, but if I take a nap when I wake up, I want to eat. It's ridiculous. So I think I gained a lot of weight from that, plus the medication. But that medication was really making me sleepy. The number one side effect of that anafranil was sleepiness. And as soon as I got off that, I mean, that helped my wakefulness right away. Any other questions? Yes. In the blue shirt. Do you want a microphone or? Yes. Oh, okay.
I know you're talking about the fact that you've been able to independently secure your own sponsorships for your career. Did you ever commingle your narcolepsy diagnosis when you talked to potential sponsors, or did you keep that more to the side? Like, because I asked for my own like professional careers and kind of trying to figure out, you know, if that's something I just want to like keep to the side, because I'm big about advocating for myself and to talk about my story and to talk about narcolepsy, to educate other people. So I just kind of wanted your personal opinion on kind of if you've mingled, you know, the two together, or if you've kind of kept them more separate.
Totally separate. So I mean, I'm more than willing to talk about narcolepsy, but I'm not, unless I have to disclose that, I'm not gonna, you know, be like, hey, you know, can you sponsor my shirt? Like this company, EasyGo, I don't even know if they even know I have narcolepsy, even though it's all over the newspapers. They don't sponsor me anymore. This is from a few years ago. But so I don't let them know unless people, you know, unless somebody's asking me questions. But I don't think that they need a need-to-know basis, right? I think one of the doctors was talking about that. You know, I like to perform well and do things well, and hopefully they're gonna like what I'm doing, and narcolepsy is just part of me, right? And as long as I'm getting everything done that I need to get done, and it shouldn't matter, right? It's kind of like being gay, right? There's I'm not gay, but I just feel like they kind of correlate like with the sponsorship. And some of the girls or guys might be gay and they get sponsorships. It's not like a prerequisite, right? Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Nicole?
Yes.
One thing I got to tell you is I've known you since 2006, my first Narcolepsy Network conference. And you've been kicking ass the entire way, sister. You really have been.
Thank you, Colin.
Yes. The key question, because this has kind of been an enigma for me, because I've lived it for so long. Have you ever noticed any other conditions related to your recovery, restoration, that seems to go hand in hand with narcolepsy? Any quirks there, as far as with you have to have more rehab or more recovery, more time to let your muscles or tendons or anything like that heal?
No, my recovery has been pretty okay. Although the older I'm getting, the harder it is to recover from anything. I don't think that has anything to do with the narcolepsy. I think it's just I'm getting older. But no, in fact, I'm not sick ever. Like everybody I know gets sick all the time. I never get sick. I don't know if that pertains to your question or not, but I hardly ever have a cold or the flu, and I don't get flu shots or anything like that. So.
Any more questions?
I'm just curious, you mentioned that your cataplexy before, or was it after your golf swing? Did your cataplexy ever affect your golf swing?
My golf swing.
Yeah.
So,
Or just golf
Yeah,
in general?
So it actually, I felt like
Performance, your
before,
performance.
Before I was on Xyrem, I really had to keep my emotions under control a lot. So before I would hit my shot, I would visualize my shot and good results. And so my expectations of having a good result would help me not have cataplexy. So, I've had 9 hole-in-ones, and I have been on my feet for all 9 of them.
Wow.
And I think like 6 of those were before my cataplexy was really under control. So it really helped my golf game to, expect to hit good shots all the time.
So like really kind of like training yourself to really be emotionless.
Yes, I know.
Like it helps.
It's horrible. It's terrible to have to control your emotions.
But
like
that actually helped.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I would if I would start to feel it on the golf course, I would have to think about something else.
Wow.
What am I going to have for lunch? Or think about, okay, people are looking at you, Nicole. Do not fall over. Come on, get it under control. You can do this. Start walking. That's the kind of stuff I would do. And nobody can tell from far away that I'm like totally limp and seeing double. I don't even know if my eyes are open or not, but I can't really see well. So that's what I would do for years. My caddy could never throw me the golf ball on the golf course. You toss the ball to your player.
Yeah.
For years he couldn't do that because that would give me cataplexy. So I always have to walk over it. But now he can throw me the ball. So it's super fun.
Oh my gosh.
I can really enjoy life now.
Yeah.
Back when my cataplexy wasn't under control, I would watch like Mackenzie Impractical Jokers. Great show. And Whose Line Is It Anyway? Do you guys remember that show? That would just make me have terrible cataplexy. But when you're comfortable and around your family and in a safe environment and around your friends, the cataplexy was really bad, but that's okay because people love me and they didn't care. My good friends miss the cataplexy. They miss it. I'm not kidding you. All of my good friends are like, we miss you falling over. We miss you doing that. I wish I could see that again.
Cheap entertainment.
Because they loved making me excited.
Yeah.
And they could tell when I was excited.
So,
Not anymore.
We have probably time for one more question. All right. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.